Hello there, today we're going to have a look at two Sebo machines. This is a 1996 Sebo X1 and this is a brand new Sebo X10. Now, before we do it, we're going to do a floor test and a bit of a comparison and talk about the differences between them. But one of the reasons I'm doing the video of these two machines together is that quite a lot of people who bought an X1, and these came out in the very late 1980s and ran for quite a few years, there's still a lot of them around, they're still worth fixing. But we are seeing fewer and fewer of them now. So a lot of people that bought one of these like 20, 30 odd years ago are now looking for a new Sebo. And most people are going to look at one of the Sebo X7s, which is the current range of domestic machines. But we're going to show you another one that people who come to see us often buy when everything dies eventually. So if you've got an X1 that's expired, the XP10 is going to feel like an old friend. Now, the XP10, you're not going to find, obviously we sell them, but you're not going to find them in many places. You're not going to find them in John Lewis and Euronics and places like this, because the XP10 is part of Sebo's commercial range. And it has on it, instead of the high gloss finish of the X7 domestic machines, which are more prone to scratching, the XP10 has a very similar finish to your XP1. It's a sort of a matte two-tone grey finish which handles scuffs and scrapes and general abuse quite well. So a lot of people who still got an old X1 like this, they're in quite decent condition like this because they are very, very durable on the cases. And the XP10 is also very, very durable. So they are a good replacement, really. As I say, going to an XP10 from an X1, it's going to feel like you've met an old friend. Nothing is going to be unfamiliar for you. Everything, it's got the same self-leveling action, it has the same brush roll, it has the same hose, it has the same removable wand, it even has the same handle. With the XP10 being a commercial machine, the only thing it does have that you may or may not like is an orange cable for higher visibility in the workplace. But a lot of people who buy an XP10 from us who's coming out of an X1 sometimes are older people and they don't mind having an orange cable. It's easier to spot on the carpet, so you don't end up falling over it. So it's not something Sebo do with domestic machines. Obviously, they put a dark cable on, but an orange cable can be no bad thing. They're not expensive, and the only other thing about them that you would need to know is they only come with a 1 year warranty instead of the 5 year warranty that the domestic machines come with. Now, that is reflected in the price, but that shouldn't concern you too much because if you've had one of these for 30 odd years, then you know that it's not going to break down very often, don't you? So, really, whether you have a 1 year or a 5 year warranty is probably quite immaterial. So, what we're going to do as a point of interest, because we always like to do floor tests on machines for people maybe that are just interested in one or the other. Some people enjoy hearing about old machines, some people want to see how the new ones perform. So, as we've got them side by side, we're gonna have a quick look around them first, so you can see the difference between them is very minimal, and then we're going to put some Sebo Duo powder on the floor and give them both a whirl and put them against each other and see which one's best. Before we do the floor test, I'll just touch very slightly upon wattages. The original X1 here is 850 watts and the XP10 is 890 watts. Now, some of the X series machines a few years ago went up to 1100 watts or 1300 watts, but unfortunately the zealots at the EU forced that to stop and put a 900 watt limit on all vacuum cleaners a few years ago. If you go back on our channel, you'll find the piece the BBC did on our premises for BBC Breakfast. So actually, the two machines now are actually quite comparable. They're within 40 watts of each other. This one's 40 watts more. That shouldn't make a lot of difference. So now it's time for a floor test. So as you can see from the floor test, performance is the same between the two. Or probably this one would be a little bit better under real world conditions because it's newer, and when this was redesigned, Sebo have added some extra seals around the body and different things to bring it up to the performance level of the 1100 and 1300s. But you can see just by this basic floor test with the powder on the floor that really they're the same. So if you have a Sebo X1 that's expired and you're wondering what to replace it with, consider the Sebo XP10 commercial as an alternative for something that's going to feel very, very familiar to you. And you can get them at a very good price off our website, seboshop.co.uk. And on the same hand, if you're looking for a good commercial cleaner, lots of cleaners buy these because they're the same size as a domestic machine instead of some of the wider ones like the BS that are often more used in offices. And because they're self-leveling, like all the X series, they're very good to go from carpets to tiles to all different floor types but without having to adjust the machine. So a lot of cleaners like them for this reason, and also because they've got a very, very durable case. So Sebo, in some respects, they've kept the colours a little bit retro on this because they know that these were so popular in the day when they were new that they've kind of harked back to us a little bit for the commercial market here. And it's nice when manufacturers do that, really. But in the same way, they are both the same kind of similar size wattage of motors, but they are still the same size big motor inside them as you would get on a more powerful, older 1100 or 1300 watt. They just run slightly more lazily to keep the EU happy. But the beauty of that, it's like a car cruising down the motorway with a big 5 litre engine. It doesn't have to work that hard, so you're not going to be burning the motor out every 5 minutes like you would on something cheap and nasty like a Shark or little Henrys with 600 watt motors that are like this big. So yeah, they are both a cracking machine. If you've got one of these you want fixing, people still send these into us from all over the country to get repaired and bring them in as well. There's very, very good parts availability for them. But if you fancy an upgrade, you can get one of those. And also, if you're going to buy one of these and you're coming up from an X1, do not throw this away. If you buy a machine off us, we have a service where you can send it back and we'll recycle it. Or if you're coming to see us, dead or alive, any condition, bring it with you. And even if we only give you a packet of bags for it for your new one, you get something and it's not going into landfill at the local tip. Thanks for watching the video. As usual, your comments and thoughts and opinions are welcome down below. And please like the video and subscribe if you haven't done so already. See you next time.